Hi PoE enjoyers! I thought I would make a quick build showcase for the character I've been using to farm trials. I'll post a POB in the description for anyone who's interested. Just a disclaimer, this is in no way an optimal or optimized build. It just works well enough. I leveled this character to 75 using Zizzarin's Toxic Rain Ballista build, which I'll link below, and then I respec'd at 75 and have been using this character solely for the mechanic ever since. A few initial bits of housekeeping. It's not necessary to have a dedicated build for trials. I just decided to make one because I was doing a few gem and gear swaps on my Poison SRS build when I was using it for ToTA, which I found a bit annoying, and I was having enough fun with the mechanic that I thought it was worth making a character just for this. Secondly, I will repurpose this character when I get sick of ToTA. I've been wanting to try a Poison Tornado Shot build, so I'll respec at some point in the next week or so when I get bored. Thirdly, this build is not in any way optimized. In my opinion, it doesn't need to be, as it does exactly what I need it to do without any more investment. I figured I may as well save my currency to put into my next build. I haven't bothered with expensive gear, clusters, timeless jewels, progenesis, any of that jazz. I know I could probably wring some additional tank out of the build or even give it some damage, but I don't find it necessary. It's comfortably farming the mechanic even though the character is wearing crappy gear and has an unoptimized skill tree. With that said, let's jump into POB. This character is a Pathfinder. I've seen a lot of people using champions for farming trials, but I wanted to be able to respec into a bow character. This build is a bit janky because I just looked for evasion, life, reservation efficiency, suppression, flask effect, etc. and threw together the tree myself. I got the idea for the Green Nightmare Widowhail rearguard setup from watching Steel Mage. I'm using my Ascendancy points to beef up my flasks, so I'm running Nature's Adrenaline, Master Surgeon, Nature's Boon, and Master Alchemist. This build uses a Ruby Flask, a Topaz Flask, a Taste of Hate, a Jade Flask, and a Bottomless Divine Flask of Sealing. The flasks that I have here are the ones I'm currently using on my character, and they could definitely be optimized. All of my flasks have 100% uptime, including the Jade Flask, through nodes on the tree and the use of flask duration tattoos. This build has many layers of defenses. It uses the combination of Widowhail, Rearguard, and Rainbow Stride to nearly cap out its block, and then we use a few tattoos of the Velako Shaman to finish out our spell block chance. We get 75% spell suppression, taking advantage of the Green Nightmare Jewel in order to convert resistances into suppression. We use some cold resistance tattoos in its radius to help with the suppression. We then convert our spell suppression into spell dodge with the Acrobatics Keystone. The build has 90% of its physical damage taken as elemental damage. We get this through Lightning Coil, the implicit and crafted modifier on the helmet, a permanent Taste of Hate, and a fizz taken as cold Watcher's Eye. The reduced elemental damage taken rolls on our flasks, as well as our flask effect, help to mitigate this. As does max resist, though I didn't really lean too hard into that in this build. We are stacking evasion on the tree, and our permanent Jade Flask allows us to get to 90% evasion chance. I'm using the Armor and Evasion Mastery that lets you regen 1% of your evasion and armor every 4 seconds as life, as a bit of extra safety. In order to have 100% uptime on my Jade Flask, I added a Warrior's Tail Jewel near Charisma. 3 flask effect duration tattoos alongside duration on the tree and Ascendancy allow the Jade Flask, as I have it rolled, to be up all the time. I have not played around with changing the prefix to see what would happen. I have a lot of other tattoos on the tree. The only ones that are necessary are the spell block, flask duration, suppression, and cold resistance tattoos. The rest I was just messing around with. You would need to change the number of tattoos depending on the rolls on your other gear. We also take reservation efficiency and aura effect wheels to allow us to fit Grace, Purity of Elements, and Defiance Banner, and still cast Void Sphere. I have my Ballistas and Mirage Archer linked to Life Tap to preserve my mana for movement skills and Void Sphere alone. For CC, I use a 6-link Phantasmal Void Sphere, linked to Divergent Increased Area of Effect, Enhance, Second Wind, Increased Duration, and Inspiration to help with the mana cost. This setup gives us a large AoE and good uptime on the Void Sphere, pulling non-champion enemies into clumps out of the way to let us focus on towers. I also use a 6-link Rain of Arrows linked to Ballista Totem, multiple totems, knockback, life tap, and maim. I put these down alongside the Void Sphere to help keep enemies out of the way. In addition, I have a 4-link Rain of Arrows, linked to Mirage Archer, Life Tap, and Anomalous Blind. I've put a few blind tattoos on my tree to help with blind chance. I don't know how useful this is, but I had some extra gem sockets and figured it couldn't hurt. I use Blink Arrow, linked to Faster Attacks and Second Wind as my travel skill. I still have Withering Step here from when I was leveling, forgot about that. The gear on the build is very simple. I bought my Widowhail and Rearguard before they got pricey for less than 50 chaos each. The +1 lightning coil is unnecessary. I already had it and was re-rolling its colours, so I just threw it on. The rest of the gear just gives me necessary stats, chaos resistance, regen, armour, evasion, and life. I got this amulet from Rog with the Anoint already on it, so I figured I would just use it. I rolled the spell suppression implicit on the gloves to free up a couple of skill points. I got a Stygian Vice with reduced flask charges used to help with the Jade Flask uptime, and used the helmet implicit and craft to get more physical damage taken as elemental to help with physical mitigation. I've put a TLDR in the notes for those of you that don't want to flick back through the video to listen to all of that again. Even though it's not optimized, this build works really well in trials. If you're interested in seeing it in action, in the end card will be one of the trials I did earlier. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Cheers for watching.